it's wrong to go ahead. Wait, I'm not finished reading. He started talking. Not my fault. You want to tell the teacher wait? I can't wait. The teacher's expecting me to be signing, not sitting there trying to retain all this. They're paying the bill. They're signing the paper that we are doing that. Deaf person gets the advantage of having, hey, don't have to pay for the interpreter. Okay. But you better use the interpreter wisely, because the interpreter needs to be busy, looking like they're doing something. If the interpreter's just sitting there, and I'm the agency, what do I want to pay them for? They didn't interpret anything. Going back to that first impression. Who's paying the bill? As you well know, the agency personnel, the people that we go to interpret for, and we've mentioned this already, they're going to have their biases already set up too. Can't help it. That's human. Some of these might be something that they have against deaf people. Maybe it was that one time they met somebody that had a yellow and red shirt and their pants were down to the knees, asking for a job, and they looked like, what? This is how deaf people dress? Maybe there's 3 or 4 other deaf people sitting off to the side. They saw them sitting there talking, and one of them comes up and asks for a job. Well, if there's 4 of them, wow, they must all be the same. We know that's wrong, but the agency person may not know. They're going to have all their other biases, those against color, those against religion, those against sexual orientation, just, you name all of those EEOC type things, all of those discriminatory things. If they bring them up, that's their choice. We don't instigate that. We're the communication bridge, for good or for bad, for better or for worse, as I say. One bias that happened to me. My daughter Summer was in a car wreck. It wasn't an awful wreck or anything like that, but it was an older car that they were in. The deaf lady was driving. She was sitting in front. Summer and her friend were about the same age. They might have been 15, 16 at that time. Summer was sitting in the back. It was an older Mustang, and for some reason there was no seat belts, probably because it was an older car. There was no seat belt in the back. Well, driving along the road, somebody pulls in front of them. There is a collision. Summer goes forward, hits her head against the driver's back of her head. Okay? Summer's nose is broken. Well, anyway, they get done with that. They go to the hospital. She calls me and says, Daddy, we had a wreck. I think I broke my nose. Okay, so I drive up to the hospital, and I go up and I see Summer's okay. Friends standing with her, they're okay. But where's your mom? Oh, she's in the emergency room. Okay. Well, since Mom is deaf and I'm an interpreter, my first instinct is, I better see if they need me. Okay. So I go in, I'm the interpreter. Yeah, that's my daughter, but I'm an interpreter, okay? So I walked in, and the nurse is filling out her papers. I said, you need me for anything? And that's when I noticed that deaf lady is on the gurney, and she's asleep. Probably still passed out. She's probably had a concussion. At this time, I don't know. I just see that she's asleep on the gurney. Nurse looks at me and says, oh, you're the sign language interpreter. I said, yeah, that's me. What can I do to help? Well, who was driving the car? Okay, well, I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't there, lady. I get a call from my daughter saying she's broke her nose because of a car wreck, so I'm a little bit, agitated myself. Everything okay? But my words was, she was driving, the deaf lady. Her response to that, but she's deaf. Let me let you let that sink in just a second. Okay. Yes, she's deaf, but so are my mother and father, and they never had a wreck in 70 years of driving. So now let's back up just a second. So she was the driver. Now, is that important to your medical report? Well, I just don't understand that. That is a bias. She thinks deaf people cannot drive. You ever heard that one before? Is that a new one for you? I didn't think so. So when you're thinking people biased against deaf, they're biased against deaf because they're afraid of what they can't do. I know I probably started so many stories of your own in your head thinking, yep, I've heard all those before. I've heard all those things about, which is better and how you approach things. But the social aspects of this interpreting work, we're working with people. Like it or not, people change. People vary. People are unique, or as Sheila says, unique. So the situation is going to change often. Even if it's one of those boring technical classes, there's going to be somebody in there who is the joker. There's going to be somebody in there who is the authoritarian person, the leader of the group. Everybody takes on a role in different group things, but that's a workshop for another day. So as you think about that, I'll go ahead and try to summarize what we've talked about for the last 4 workshops. Okay? Physical aspects. Be ready physically. I mean, if you're feeling tired, sleepy, it's going to be hard to carry out your duties. Be prepared. Know you're going to probably be standing a lot. Be sure your location is good. Arrive before time so you don't be rushed. You won't be thinking, oh, I've got to hurry and get in place. Prepare for that. Mentally, know you're probably going to talk about something that you have no idea what they're talking about. But as long as you have the signing and the English terminology down, that gives you enough time to think about what are those words they're using in this situation. The emotional preparedness, you have attitude, be comfortable. Other people have attitudes. I don't know if they're going to be comfortable or not, but be ready to focus on the task anyway. And then the social, remember there is diversity, but that we all have very much similarities of what we go through on an everyday basis, whether it be money, life, loss of loved ones, new situations, and judging other people. Now, an old law professor taught me in paralegal classes. That was 15 years ago already. But I remember we all like to be able to ask the question and have that concrete answer, that sure answer, just like in Jeopardy. You know, it's that answer. It's, oh, you added an F, you lost the money. No, it's not always like that. But in many things that questions have to do with anything about legal, why? Personal. Medical things, oh, but he takes that medicine, maybe I can too. Maybe not. Interpreting, what do you do if they do this? Well, it's not always A, B, C, or D. It could be A, B, C, and D. Here's the two words that explains it. It depends. No two situations are the same. Try to learn something from each one. It will help you get an idea of how much difference you have to deal with on the next appointment. How I interpret an appointment is probably nothing like how you do. Really, that's probably not true. It is interpreting work. But how I approach it, how I deal with it, how I feel inside is probably going to be very different than how you do it. It's okay. Remember what the task is at hand. What are you there for? We have to do our best to get through that appointment so that the results are clear, appropriate, as acceptable as possible, because somebody is paying for us to be there to help us do that. They have to make decisions on what is being said. The deaf person must make a decision on what they're seeing other people say, and that office person, that agency, that judge, that policeman has to make decisions on how this person is interpreted. They wanted the interpreter to get to a certain point. And once you have assisted them in getting to that point, it's time to get out and go to the next one. Those thank yous and those smiles and the appreciation and the signature on your voucher tells you how well you did sometimes. Take that, run with it, and do the next one. I very much thank you for attending the workshops. I've probably told you nothing that you've learned, but I hope I've given you a different point of view that will help you in your work from here on. We'll see you out there. Take care. Thank you.